And we are live. Welcome to the Monkey Knife Fight MLB Show. I am Josh Engleman. I am joined by Eric Lindquist, and we are here to talk for a little bit about Monkey Knife Fight today. We got a lot planned for the show. We're going to pack a lot in to 30 minutes, so be sure to hit that like button as you get in the door. Subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you know when everything goes live. But before we start with anything Monkey Knife Fight related, I have to ask, Eric, how are you?
Doing well. I'm always excited to talk props, with you specifically. I know you always do your homework for every single show. Good to have you on the Monkey Knife Fight one specifically today because you with the breakfast menu, you and Ben do such a good job covering bets, covering props, covering all the things that we need to have a little leg up on the competition, to have a little leg up on the books. And Prize Picks is another great place to be checking it out. And Monkey Knife Fight and Monkey Knife Fight specifically is the absolute best sponsor that we have here at Awesemo. I feel like they just do such a good job of giving us an opportunity to talk about so many different sports and so many different props. So excited to be on with you today.
Part of me wishes I had more time in the day to get into this. All the different game modes. I think there's a lot of edge to be had here as I started diving in. I built out my entire sheet for it now. I've got everything rocked and ready to go. This is something that I'm very interested in. I'm excited to dive into it with you. We got to start here. Promo code Awesemo, AWESEMO. I promise you that's how you spell it. I promise you it's not the way that most people spell it, which is incorrectly everywhere that I see. I can't spell the word awesome any longer. That is just no longer part of my lexicon. It certainly doesn't show up in my phone anymore, which is really problematic when I send text messages. But neither here nor there. The promo code is Awesemo. You get a first match deposit bonus of up to $100 when you use that code. Now, I use this spiel a lot, but it is true. If you want to deposit $50, they'll match with 50. If you want to deposit 100, they will instantly match with 100. And if you don't want to deposit 200, that doesn't change anything. You just don't get 200. You still only get that 100. But you should never pass up on free money. This is going to help you build a bankroll if you're trying to do so. So whether that's NBA, which obviously isn't active right now, UFC, PGA, esports, soccer, or as we're about to talk right now, baseball. You can get into a lot of different stuff at Monkey Knife Fight, and they are willing to give you, they're going to double up on your deposit of up to $100. Put in 100, get a free 100. You got a $200 bankroll to start. That is what you guys should be doing using that promo code Awesemo. It's a no-brainer, free money. Don't pass up on it. We're going to touch on a couple different Monkey Knife Fight modes here before we get out of here at top of the hour, 2:00. We're going to take a look at more or less. We're going to take a look at the home run blast, which is a mode very, very close to my heart. And then we will take a look at the fantasy challenge. But we are going to start it off with the first line item on the site. If you click onto the main slate for today, the first thing that you will see is a two-person more or less. All we're trying to do is say whether Corbin Burns. Oh, this has changed since I looked at it earlier. Interesting. Not going to make a difference. Totally forgot that things can change. This is between Corbin Burns and Nathan Eovaldi. We need to know, does Corbin Burns go over under 7.5 strikeouts? Does Nathan Eovaldi go over under 6.5 strikeouts? If you get both of those right, you get 3x your buy-in. It's that simple. You're just clicking two buttons. So let's start here. How do you feel about Corbin Burns today at 7.5 strikeouts?
I love it. I love them more, but I'm also going to be very apprehensive. I want everybody to be careful because we have weather. We have a major weather issue with this game. We saw it happen yesterday. It ended up just completely burning a lot of my shares on different DFS sites, just with the rain delay that we ended up getting, shortened a lot of these outings. And if you're looking at an in-game delay, this bet is dead. Like, you're just absolutely dead if you take the more than 7.5, which is definitely where I want to be leaning in this spot. This Cubs lineup is a glorified AAA. If you want to call them a quad A lineup, we can probably do that here. And then you get a guy in Corbin Burns on the bump that just has some of the most ridiculous metrics. 27.8% hard hit percentage, 173 expected batting average, 239 expected slugging. And these underlying metrics are ridiculous. But the big thing we're highlighting specifically for these purposes, 35% K percentage. And you look at some of these bats that are in the lineup, Patrick Wisdom, if you get Chirinos in there, as good as he's been with the Cubs in this short tenure, nearly a 32% K percentage. Ian Happ, 31%. I mean, these are just gigantic numbers. There's really nobody nobody's underneath a 20% strikeout rate in that entire lineup. There are there are strikeouts to be had everywhere, especially for a pitcher as ridiculous as what Corbin Burns is. Our MLB prop tool strikeouts love him too. He's by far the best play on the board over there. Expected win percentage of 89%. But I got to say, the weather for me is just the main thing to be checking in on here.
So I have my data run for Burns. And if I had to take anything, and in this case, it's not like a normal prop bet where, like, if you're sort of close to the number, it's probably just a stay away. There's no such thing as a stay away here. You have to take a side. I have Corbin Burns projected for 7.3 strikeouts. So it doesn't make me feel comfortable. I think the line is super efficient, but I would take less before I took more. And I feel a little bit better just thinking about the fact that the weather could play a little bit of a role there. There's no weather in my model in terms of discounting him, at least not right now. So to get that slight lean at 7.3, along with the fact that a storm in the third inning or fourth inning could just stop this one in its tracks, I'm going to take the under or the less on Burns. I'm not fond of it, though.
So this is probably the best way to handle this. I think on Monkey Knife Fight, where you're able to play the game specifically too, I'm in love with the less than 3.5 strikeouts for Jake Arrieta as well on the other side of this. And I know that seems like a really, really low number, but if you're talking weather for both pitchers, and that game doesn't start, I believe, until 8:05 or 8:10 Eastern time, you are able to sit there and know that if there's going to be a possibility of an in-game delay, and as long as they get that first pitch out of their hands before that game gets into the delay, you are sitting with a fantastic play on less for both of them. So be very cognizant of the weather. Be paying attention to that. We've got the news god here at Awesemo in the premium Slack. He's going to be in YouTube Slack for the Deeper Diver and the Live Before Lock show. So be checking that out. And if you see the words possible in-game delay, that's an automatic less for both of them. So just be kind of be looking out for that.
I have Arrieta at 2.8, so I'll take that less by default as well. And that the weather even just helps it out even more. But when we look at the opposite side, to me, this next one is interesting. This is a snap answer for me. And this is someone that I actually did like from a DFS perspective earlier today on the strategy show, but it's a little bit different here. Nathan Eovaldi, more or less 6.5 strikeouts. I'll let you lead the way first.
So you're going to leave me out to dry if I'm on the wrong side of this one specifically.
I'll get out to the lead. That's fine. I will go less by
That's why I'm going
strikeout.
To.
I have him at 5.5. So to me, it's a very, very quick less, but I'd love to hear your thoughts.
So my thoughts are, more than any other team in baseball, you have to be looking at the way that this Rays lineup comes out. They're going to come out lefty heavy. There's going to be a difficult time, I think, for Eovaldi. It's not going to be the easiest thing to pick up strikeouts the way that he would in a neutral matchup here. Tampa Bay is never a neutral matchup. They're able to go Loud, Choi, Meadows, Wendell, Kiermaier maybe in the lineup. He's questionable, and that'd be the one bat that either way, with Kevin Kiermaier, somebody who kind of strikes out a little bit above average, 26.7% here on the season, pretty much all facing right-handed pitching. So that's a pretty easy number to say that that's about appropriate for what it'll be. But you get guys like Margot, Diaz, Mejia. I mean, some of these guys on the bottom end strike out way below 20%. So for me, I'm very sensitive to however Tampa Bay rolls out their lineup, but assuming that it's going to be very lefty heavy here, I think it's going to be tougher for Eovaldi to really rack up a bunch of these strikeouts. 23.3% K percentage is about middle of the road. What he does is he limits hard contact. He limits walks. That's the Eovaldi way. It's not necessarily missing bats. And sure, there might be some above average strikeouts if you get Brett Phillips in the lineup there. But for me, I'm definitely with you. I think less than 6.5. That's a big number to see for Eovaldi.
So we're less and less for 3XR money tonight. I feel pretty good there.
I feel good if I see the weather is kind of cooperating there. Otherwise, for me, I'm inclined to take more if I think it's going to play clean on Burns. But it is it's a pretty efficient line. I think the real value there is in Eovaldi, or if you want to wait for that Brewers Cubs game, less than 3.5 for Arrieta, I think is a great smash play too.
I like it. I think we're off to a great start so far. We got a lot more to talk about.
Okay.
So don't be afraid to hit that like button, folks. It will help us out tremendously. We are on to the home run blast. This is something that I wish has existed. I mean, we've been doing this on Live Before Lock for a long time now. Myself, Jake, Spags in a previous life, EMAC. Dong contest for the first 2 years at Awesemo. It was a good time. Now we're bringing it back here. Here's how it works. We got to pick 3 guys. If there's 1 home run, you get 2x your money. If there are 2 home runs, you get 5x your money. If there are 3 or more, you get 10x your money. And there's no degree of difficulty here. You're trying to pick the 3 guys that you think are going to homer or homer more than once. I've got my home run model here. There are obviously plenty of guys right out of the gate that I assume get taken. I'd love to see the ownership on something like this. Like, how often are people just taking Vlad Guerrero Jr.? I would guess it's a lot. If you're putting someone in, and maybe it is going to be Vlad, who is your first pick to home run today?
My first pick, well, you also have to understand, like, some of the main games, sometimes there'll be players that it's not all 11 games that'll be listed. It's kind of the main section. Usually it's going to be some of the earlier ones. So at least be on the lookout for that, because sometimes I've gotten in a habit of, I don't think Vlad will be available until the night games. So that would be somebody that I would definitely want to be getting exposure to. But one team that just, there's power up and down, and Kyle Gibson's not a pitcher that I really believe in. And this Dodgers lineup is just stupid now. Top to bottom, it's going to be a lineup where you're going to be getting power from everywhere. I think from a fantasy point standpoint, in the fantasy challenge over here on Monkey Knife Fight, as well as the home run derby, Max Muncy sitting there in the 2-hole, just so much power, gets the ball lofted up in the air quite frequently here. Just a player and a team that I want to be invested in going forward in just about every facet. You also are getting a little bit of that road bump too. So you're getting that extra inning in the ninth that's guaranteed to go down. So looking at Max Muncy's numbers for the year, 589 expected slugging, 14-degree average launch angle, 44% hard hit percentage. Kyle Gibson, he's going to start getting hit harder and harder. I just don't believe in anything that he's doing right now, and not missing bats, under a 20% K percentage here on the season. I like a lot of these Dodgers lefties, specifically Seager and Muncy. I really like getting to them. I think that they're nice plays for Monkey Knife Fight today.
I have no issue going to Muncy. He is 3rd in my model.
Ooh,
number
that's
2
pretty high
for
up.
me. Yeah. Look, I snap clicked that name right out of the gate. My number 2, Trey Mancini, just slightly ahead of your boy Muncy. So that would be my initial pick if you're good with that split. He's got the righty-lefty matchup against Skubal. Park factor there, 108 for righties. That's massive to me. So I'm happy with going to Trey Mancini. Do you have a third for me right now? Do we have someone like Eric Haas is the guy that's at the top of my list, taking on Matt Harvey? Generally speaking, is going to make me feel pretty good about trying to hit a home run. He is so high, in fact, that he has separated himself from the pack and is the very clear top option. But do you have anybody else that you have your eye on?
So let's talk about Eric Haas. So one, sure. The Detroit Tigers are a headache pretty much every slate right now because they've been chalked. They've been in some phenomenal spots on other DFS sites, and I haven't necessarily been there. But on Monkey Knife Fight, we don't ever have to worry about ownership. We don't have to think about any of those extra categories of factoring in ownership and what their price is going to be on another site. We are looking for the best home run hitters. And Eric Haas, so long as he's not hitting like 5th or 6th, he's kind of been bouncing around a little bit in the lineup order, not to like the extent of Cesar Hernandez, who's now leading off after batting 8th yesterday against same-handedness. And I mean, the White Sox are just ridiculous the way that they can build lineups and how it works. But Eric Haas on the season, 50.6% hard hit percentage. He showed up. I don't know, Fountain of Youth, like what's going on with him, because he's had some other major league stints and it's never been this way. The Ks are still there, 32.7%. But if he's making contact, the ball is going hard and far. And Matt Harvey gives up a lot of hard and far contact here and only a 16.3% K percentage. So I think there is a good chance here for Eric Haas to barrel him up. And I don't have to think about what his ownership is going to be. I don't have to think about what his price is going to be on other sites. That's the fun part about Monkey Knife Fight. So I love that as a third edition.
Those would be the top 3 in my home run model. If all 3 of those guys were to homer, or we got 3 home runs in some sort of combination, we 10x our money.
That's nice.
That'd be fun.
That's nice.
I'll say this much. Don't misclick and take Kevin Newman. He is dead last in my home run model. Not a guy you're looking for. By the way, just from an expectation standpoint, in the aggregate, I have these guys at .676 home runs for today. So just shy of 1.
And I like the play more than 0.5 here. I mean, that's a 2x your money. I think that's been probably for me on Monkey Knife Fight the more profitable way. On Fridays, they have a massive $25,000 contest where if all three hit a home run in the lineup, you win a share of the $25,000 or you outright win the $25K. And so I've been kind of trying to get a little different with my third player. I'm more chalky with the Vlads, the Shohei Ohtanis, and mix and match my third guy in some spots and take plus 0.5, taking more than 0.5 in all of those lineups. And it's been nice building up a little bankroll. Haven't hit that 25K yet, but we're going to keep gunning for it.
What are your thoughts here? Do you lean more to just wanting to go and try to get one from those three, take the 2x? Do you have more interest in the 1.5 or the 2.5?
I think it depends. So the 1.5 would be more intriguing to me if you had just an outrageous game environment. If there was one game that was listed on Monkey Knife Fight, we've seen this in Coors Field, and this has been a really profitable thing for me, going to the 0.15, where I don't need that if that hits 1 out of every 4 times, you're getting a flat line. If you go 1 out of 3, which, we know the guys, if it's CJ Crone or Ryan McMahon, and then whatever the road team is specifically getting that road bump on just a singular home run, there's a number of ways that you can build out that 3-player trio. And so I think the 0.15 or the 1.5 there is a little bit more profitable in Coors, but in a regular standard slate like this, you're picking and choosing the best individual plays. I like the 0.5. And then especially on Fridays when you're gearing for that 25K.
I just want to list off a couple more guys for everybody. This is everybody that is listed at 0.2 home runs or more for me on the 7 o'clock set. That's 7 total guys. So we had Eric Haas, we have Trey Mancini, we have Max Muncy. Jonathan Scope would be my number 4. Rhys Hoskins, my number 5. Bryce Harper, my number 6. And Austin Hayes coming in at the number 7 spot. That's where we stand for Home Run Blast. That is a blast, by the way. That's fun.
It's fun.
Feel like I would go ahead.
Oh, it's like Ken Griffey Jr. presents Major League Baseball back in the day when I was just create a player. All you're doing is waiting for that little, you get up to the front right edge of the box or whatever, and you're just trying to hit home runs. And they had the home run derby section for it. Oh, those were the days.
So much fun. What a great game. Absolutely incredible.
Best.
I do like the idea. I was just touching on it with you before, though, of having a bigger amount. Sort of like the way you could bet in golf, you could take an outright, but also take somebody to top 5, top 10, top 20, maybe differentiate a little bit, putting a little bit more on the over 0.5 home runs, cut that unit size sort of in half for 1.5, put a tenth of a unit, so to speak, on the 2.5, trying to hit that 10x. I would probably want to have some coverage across all 3 if I were doing it. And you could do that. You can immediately, if you want to say you want to do 250 to try to 2x and then do 100. I'm just picking numbers. Obviously, if you just put $100 in, got that instant match deposit bonus, you want to go a little bit lower. But even if you wanted to go $10 at the 2x level, $5 at the 5x level, and then another $2 at the 10x, just because if it hits, it hits. It's interesting.
Yeah, kind of tiering it in a certain way. I kind of like that, kind of a progressive. It's the way we talking outrights and stuff today. Of all people, I'm on Bo Hostler this week at the Wyndham, and it makes me feel awful. But of course, I'm not going to bet his top 10 because I'm gearing for the certain outlay. Like for me, these 3 plays are fantastic for the 0.5, but basically saying, okay, instead of that, I'll aim for the top 10 kind of play in the 1.5 or 2.5. I really like that take.
Is Rhys Hoskins really on the IL? Is he set to come back today?
10-day IL, I believe. Let me check.
Was in a projected lineup earlier today. That's why I'm.
Oh, he was.
Curious.
Interesting. Okay.
And still is.
And I mean, it would be against David Price, which would be a good spot. No, he just got placed on it yesterday. So he will not be in there. I mean, they're not going to put Brad Miller out there at first base. No. Probably going to be. I mean, Torreyes, that would be hilarious. I don't know who it'll probably be here at first. I like targeting David Price. I think that's a guy that's just not going to be as good as what people think coming from the bullpen role to a starting role. Very, very different. Alec Boehm, they could maybe move over there. I would be surprised if Brad Miller showed up in that lineup left on left, but we shall see.
Well, he is still listed in the projected lineup at the place that I get my projected lineup. So kudos to them for not seeing that news. Clown show, man. Clown show.
It's that middle August situation where people, they're just coasting for certain things, but there's so much money still to be made here on Monkey Knife Fight, on these. It all spends the same.
Yeah. And so just for future reference, guys, don't use Rhys Hoskins today. That's not going to work out well for you. What will work out for you is if you go check out some of our new YouTube channels. We've got 2 of them. Awesemo Odds, which you'll see me popping up on quite a bit. Eric, how much Awesemo Odds content do you got going on?
A little bit here and there. I've guested in on the breakfast menu with you and with Ben once in a while, and been doing some NFL previews. So enjoying all the stuff over there. Been doing videos with Lofty, with Matt Gajewski, just some of the sharpest dudes in the industry for sure.
Yeah. So head to the Awesemo Odds YouTube channel. You can search for Awesemo Odds. You'll find it immediately. Subscribe, hit the notification bell. That's going to be the premier source for all of our sports betting content. But don't just stop there. The NFL season, or football season just in general, is coming up fast and furious. Subscribe to the Awesemo Fantasy Football channel. Talk about Matt Gajewski once again, just cranking out a ton of fantasy football content. Lofty as well. Nick too, by the way. We're putting out a ton of fantasy football content right now, and that's why we're splitting it out to 3 separate channels. So you've got this main channel, you've got the Awesemo Odds channel, you've got the Awesemo Fantasy Football channel. It's a no-brainer. You want to have a part of all 3 of them. Just hit the subscribe button. You don't ever want to miss our content. It's coming out all the time. And now it's going to be on 3 separate places. So don't miss it. Subscribe to those channels. They're new. They're brand new. Awesemo Odds, brand new. Awesemo Fantasy Football, brand new. I know we've got the biggie here, but we've got more to offer you guys. But back to Monkey Knife Fight. Let's close this one out here with the Fantasy Challenge. We need to pick 3 hitters. And then I'll let you set our goal here, whether we're trying to go over 13.5 fantasy points at 1.5x, whether we're trying to get over 15.5 fantasy points for 3x, or the big one, 17.5 and going 5x. Who is your favorite player today for the Fantasy Challenge? Now, scoring, by the way, I would be remiss if I didn't explain scoring right now. It's a little bit different here. You're basically getting 1 point for every base. A single is going to be 1. A home run is going to be 4. A walk is going to be 1. A stolen base is going to be 1. Getting hit by a pitch is going to be 1. You get an extra point for a run, an extra point for an RBI. Who do you think is the number 1 play for today?
So I've been going to the night game here. So we see a 5.6 implied total for the Toronto Blue Jays going up against Dylan Bundy in the night games. And so not to jump out of the main games here, but there's 2 batters. And I think going to a 2-man on something like the Fantasy Challenge, where those RBIs and runs can really kind of correlate a little bit more, is the sharp way to go about it. Just keep them together in the lineup spot for the Fantasy Challenge. Vlad Guerrero. I'm not really saying anything. I feel like you're associated with this dude so much from your All-Star game calls, and you goated out over All-Star weekend. I had my Mike Zunino call. We almost combined everything together for a 50K hit. That would have been fun. But Vlad Guerrero Jr.,
Zunino was a guy that I mentioned that day as a guy that could randomly hit a home run, but like I'm not taking any credit for that. It was just a throwaway. But I was like, hey, if like Zunino homers, he could blah blah blah. But yeah, that was like the
125 to 1 ticket on him as MVP, and he came up with the bases loaded for his second at bat. But catchers, there were only 2 catchers in the game, and I thought it was the sharp play to be way overweight on Zunino, and so that worked out really well for everybody on Live Before Lock, and almost hit it all. Needed the right shares of Real Muto together with him, but I digress. Vlad Guerrero Jr. and Bo Bichette or Teoscar Hernandez. You can kind of go in either direction. I just want to do the number 2 and number 3 lineup. However the lineup ends up coming out, I believe it'll be Simeon or Bichette that'll be in the 3 hole there. I'm happy to combine them in any order between the 3 of them, going up against Dylan Bundy, a pitcher who once upon a time was very good, but this is not once upon a time. 89 average exit velocity, 15-degree launch angle here, 441 expected slugging on the season, 21.5 K percentage is low. And it's 80 degrees here at first pitch, which is abnormally hot actually for Anaheim around these parts, around this time here in Los Angeles. So I got to think for me, going up against Dylan Bundy, you get the best hitting offense there, a big implied total, and the power bat of Vlad Guerrero Jr. I like putting 2 of those 3 bats kind of together. You can only play 2 on any one individual team. Combine them with any piece you want from the Seattle or San Francisco sides of it. If you want to put Shohei Ohtani in there, probably not the worst idea ever. As much as I like Alek Manoah, he's pretty good at hitting baseballs too. So I think that trio is a lot of power to get in one fantasy challenge lineup.
So Vlad Guerrero, just overall for today, if you include every single game that you can, Vlad Guerrero is at the top of my list. Bo Bichette is 13th. Marcus Semien is 14th. There is one more Blue Jay, though. George Springer coming in the second spot.
Yeah, go 1-2 with them. Go Springer, Vlad. But again, because you get individual points for the RBI, the runs, just getting that little extra boost where they are absolutely correlated, where they're absolutely hitting back to back, I think is a small little edge to have. And we don't necessarily do that. Everybody does that in DFS. So we're cognizant of that. We're generally trying to get a little bit more different than that with our stacks and with our correlations. But on Monkey Knife Fight, play the best 2, play them back to back, have everything be correlated.
If we're looking at just that main slate, I'm going to take the same sort of theme, but it's not going to be Blue Jays. It's going to be Dodgers. We're going back to the home run pick. Max Muncy is at the top of the heap. My number 1 projected Monkey Knife Fight hitter. Trey Turner, newly minted Dodger, coming in that number 2 spot. And then I have Corey Seager 4th. I've got Will Smith 7th. So a lot of Dodgers to choose from at the top. You can mix and match those guys however you see fit. I think that's going to be your best bet. If we're looking for that lone one-offs, I think a 2-1 stack is definitely the way that you should be going here. Paul Goldschmidt, Nolan Arenado are 3rd and 5th. You can take either one of those guys. Robbie Grossman is a solo Tiger coming in that 6th spot against Matt Harvey. There's a lot at the top, but I think that I'm going to that Dodgers combo to start. Then I'm going to probably Goldschmidt. I want to take my 1, 2, and 3, Muncy, Turner, Goldschmidt. And I'm feeling pretty good about it. Like, I might go for the 3X on that one.
Yeah. So just talking out loud about it, I mean, the 3X, the 15.5, I mean, if you get that home run, you're sitting nicely no matter who you play. If you play 3 guys together, you get that home run, you're going to need very little out of anybody else in order to get there for it. The one thing I will say about a guy like Trey Turner, he has more value on other places. You only get 1 point for the stolen base. So he's somebody that I kind of value a little bit less more so. I am still gearing for more home run power. So I like the Max Muncy side of it, even maybe a little bit more than Trey Turner, if you're looking to one-off one of the Dodgers specifically. But he still can get it done in a multitude of ways. And just accumulating some of those singles, getting a double, triple, his potential for those is obviously higher and just about anybody in the league. Over a 320 batting average, a guy who just continues, like, he's got to have a pretty strong candidacy here for NL MVP, even though he's newly minted Dodger for sure. But I like the Muncy side of it even a little bit more.
Yeah, and I would be happy to swap out Turner for Seager. The difference here is 0.08 of a fantasy point. I've got Turner at 3.89. I've got Seager at 3.81. But I would agree with you that the distribution of Seager is going to be a little bit different than Turner. They might have a comparable median, but they're definitely going to have slightly different tails just by the way that they accrue the stats. But that's a great point there too. Like, Seager ranks a lot higher in the home run model than Trey Turner does.
Yes.
I like this a lot. Muncy, Seager, Arenado. Maybe that's the trio that you like.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that a lot. And again, we got to pay attention to the way that some of the lineups come out. If you're watching this video here, an hour, 2 hours after we put this together, which is, I think, most of what people are checking out, they're looking at putting their Monkey Knife Fight card together, their betting card together. Really kind of be paying attention to the way the lineups come out, not just for some of the pitching we talked about earlier, but for these Dodgers, make sure if it's Muncy, Seager, sometimes they'll put Will Smith in the 3-hole in between them. It just really depends, and it can be fluctuating day to day. Look at Cesar Hernandez with the White Sox. That's kind of my prime example. 1-hole, 8-hole, 7-hole. He's batted so many different places in the last week even, and just pay attention to how the lineups break out.
Well, that'll do it. We made it through that pretty easily. A lot of good Monkey Knife Fight content here. Eric, any final thoughts before we get out of here? Because I believe, now it's not going to be on this channel, I believe it's on the Fantasy Football channel. Looks like Laffy going live. Doing a little underdog live best ball draft. If you guys are interested, that's kicking off right now. Eric, any final thoughts?
Now check out all of our Awesemo odds, Awesemo fantasy football channel content. We are really making a push here for fantasy football, but otherwise, thank you so much to Monkey Knife Fight. Josh, great to have you subbing in here for Greg. Enjoyed having you. Hopefully we have you back again soon.
I would love to do it. I'm ready to go now. I'm fully set up. It's Monkey Knife Fight season, everybody. Thank you for joining me. Make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you know when everything goes live, and make sure you're subscribing to the Awesemo Odds and Awesemo Fantasy Football channels. That's it. Deeper Dive coming back at 5 p.m. live before lock at 6. That's all we got. Good luck tonight, everybody. Have fun at Monkey Knife Fight.